Today, we're going through the basics of bobber fishing for walleyes. One of my favorite techniques. You catch them in July, catch them when they're shallow, catch them when they're fussy. Yeah, there we go. Oh, look at the pike behind it. Look at the pike behind it, he just got it. He just got it. All right, so as mentioned, we're gonna do a little breakdown on bobber fishing. I don't do too many of these in-depth tackle type videos. If you wanna see a lot of these videos, there's a guy named Boley who is just a walleye wizard, and he actually just dropped like a bobber masterclass. He does so many amazing technique specific videos. Lindner too, some really good American YouTubers you guys should be watching if you walleye fish. But I thought I would do my take on bobber fishing in the north. I try not to overcomplicate it. We'll show you kind of two different setups. One with a jig, one with just a plain hook under the bobber, and hopefully we can catch some walleyes. They've kind of moved out. It's early July now. They've moved out to the main lake humps. It's a fun time to fish for them, but they can be kind of stingy when they're out in the middle. So floating a bobber by them is a really good way to catch these fish they don't want to chase. And as well, if you got a beginner, a newbie in the walleye world, bobber fishing is awesome. It's an easy way to catch fish. So I got a box full of bobbers here. Obviously there's lots of different options. These are those ice fishing, ice buster bobbers. You got these clear ones that you can fill with water so you can cast further. I would say kind of the name in the bobber game is Thill. They make a lot of great bobbers. You can get weighted, unweighted. Some cheaper ones here you can see are, you know, just the plastic material at the tip. Some of these have brass tips. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna do one bigger bobber. We're gonna put a tungsten jig underneath. That'll be a little more run and gun. I think guys call it power corking maybe, but kind of a way that you can get that bait down fast. You can cast further, and then we're gonna do a little more of a finesse approach with the smaller bobber, lighter. This one will be just a leech and a split shot. This one will be a tungsten jig. So these will be our two setups. So as far as rods go, I like a longer rod. You can go crazy. You could go up to like a 10-foot rod. Something long and whippy is kind of what you want, like a more of a moderate action, meaning it's gonna bend kind of more throughout the rod. So this is an easier to find rod that's kind of a good general use, walleye, bass, whatever rod. Bobber fishing rod is 7.6 medium light. This is the TDI series, so it's a walleye series by Daiwa. 7.6 medium light, you can do everything with, it's great. This is more of a specialty rod. This is a Saltus, so a saltwater Daiwa rod. This is the 8.3 medium light. I do prefer this. It's just a little tougher to find a rod like this at your local, you know, Midwest tackle store. But if you're looking for a specific bobber rod, there's also, I have a 10.5-foot rod, Canadian series, and it's a fun bobber rod as well, 10.5 feet. It's like if the fish are 20 feet off the front, it's pretty easy to cast at them, and to cast, you know, a light bait, the long rod helps. But I really like this 8.3 and the 7.5, so we're gonna rig these two up. As far as line goes, this is one situation where I do like to use straight fluoro or straight mono. I'm not dealing with leader lines. When you're dealing with the bobber stop, which I'm gonna show you later, you don't have to worry about where that leader knot is if it's getting in the way. So, you know, I love a lot of the characteristics of fishing with braid, how thin it is, how sensitive it is, but you're watching the bobber, so sensitivity isn't important in this case, but it will save you so much time with retying and rigging if you're just using a straight chunk of fluoro. This is Daiwa fluoro, 8-pound. We're gonna start by threading on the bobber stop. So these are some little stoppers I got at sale. Basically, they're little rubber pieces that slide onto your line. And I would say there's pros and cons to the rubber stop versus the homemade stops. The rubber stops, I think you monkey with them a little bit less, but they do get caught on your spool a little bit. So if I know I'm fishing shallow, I probably prefer the rubber stopper. If I'm fishing deeper, then I like to do the homemade stoppers because they fish a little nicer on your reel. But basically, I'll show you how it goes here. The line is gonna go through the little loop. Helps to moisten it a bit. And then I'm just gonna slide that piece of rubber over both pieces of line here until that tag end pulls through. And then that tag end is going to come through the loop. So right now, this little piece of rubber right here that's what's going to stop the bobber, hence bobber stop. So the bobber will slide up and down to that spot. But something else I do like to add, just because sometimes your bobber stop will be a little small, is just to add a little craft bead. I'm just going to pass a bead on there, and you're going to see it's going to slide right to that bobber stop. Because this will slide up and down your line, but even if your bobber stop's a little thinner, that bead will stop, and then you'll make sure your bobber doesn't slide through. Next, the bobber. All right, the bobber's on. So like I said, that stop is what determines your depth and where the bobber slides up to. All right, so the bobber set, the beauty of this setup too is that with that straight fluoro, you don't have to mess around with swivels and stuff. So I will try to go straight to the jig. If I need to add some weight, I'll clip on some split shots. All right, we're gonna use this little frostbite meathead jig, little tungsten jig right there. It's got this little clip which will help keep the jig horizontal as well. So this is gonna be, like I said, our run and gun option with the jig. For this, I'm just gonna use a uni knot. This setup now I'm just gonna dip over the side of the water and I'm gonna see if I need to add split shots. I know it looks kind of goofy now, but as long as whatever jig or clasp or whatever you're using doesn't get caught in your bobber, that's the important part, right? Because if it gets jammed, you will notice very quickly when it's trying to slide down. So we will test it. With these bobbers, depending on where your bobber stop is set, if your jig ends up on the bottom, the bobber will end up sideways. So you wanna make sure that bobber's vertical, otherwise that means your jig's laying on the bottom, which you don't want. So this one casts really good and it falls fast. Like I said, those brass grommets on the inside make a big difference, and just with the weight of the jig. So this one, it will take a bit of weight to pull it under. I'm gonna add a split shot just for curiosity's sake to see what happens. The closer you have it to neutral buoyancy, the less resistance that fish is gonna feel when he pulls the bobber under. You don't want the fish to feel it, so that's why I'm gonna add as much weight as possible. These just crimp onto your line. You can see when the waves hit that one, it wants to, like, it's very close to going under. A second split shot would probably sink that one away. So we'll try with one, but you can watch when that bobber hits the water, when I cast, it takes a second to cork back up. So that is like very, very close to where we want it. So we'll keep it like that for now with one split shot. And I'll show you guys how we adjust the depth. But we're gonna rig up our second rod now. So that's our fast one that we'll probably throw a night crawler under, and then our other one we're gonna do a leech, and it's gonna be a little more finesse. Rod number 2. So yeah, last time we did the store-bought bobber stop. This time I'm gonna use just a chunk of fly line backing. This is some 30-pound. I've had this spool forever. And we can actually do this later, but we still need to put the bead on. So I'll actually make the bobber stop later, but we'll just slide the bead on for now, because you can't slide the bead on once your bobber's on. Okay, so the bead is on. We're gonna use a little bit of a smaller float here. We'll use this one here. It's a little Northland one. Once again, the brass tip on it, which I think makes it slide a little bit nicer. Okay, so that bobber's through. Now we're gonna tie a hook on. I love a size 6 octopus hook. This is a BKK, bright red. I like a little bit of color too. These are the hooks I use all the time for, tip ups, for stock trout. You can use them for drop shotting, for walleye. Just good, bait hooks and bobber hooks. So size 6 octopus, these BKKs are awesome. I'm going to use a uni knot here, and we're gonna use a couple split shots for this one. Once again, this is 8-pound fluoro. And I think probably 2 is gonna be the sweet spot for this setup, but we'll see. But now I'm gonna tie that bobber stop above the bead. So I'm gonna cut off a chunk of that Dacron. You can use braid too if you forgot bobber stop. So I'm laying it beside, and I'm just gonna tie a uni knot over top of my main line. 3-4 wraps, uni knot, slide tight. Moisten it a bit because you want it pretty tight so it grips. If you have it too loose, it'll slide up and down your line willy-nilly. And then I'm gonna trim those tags pretty short. It depends on how deep you're fishing. Like I said, this one will play in your reel a little bit nicer when you reel it through the eyelets, and it won't get stuck on guides, but you still wanna have tag ends so you can tighten it. There's the bobber stop, but you wanna pull those tight if you need to slide it. So right now I can slide it up and down, and then when that bobber slides, boom, it's gonna hit it. All right, we got our 2 setups. We're gonna go to the front. We're gonna use some live scope to find some walleyes on the top of this reef. The wind is picking up a little bit, so we might try to get out of the wind at some point. Yeah, the goal is to stay 20, 30 feet off and be able to cast at the fish. So in this case, we're rolling up to this hump. It comes up to 10 feet of water. I'd like to find some a little bit shallower ones, ideally right on the top. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna try to figure out where these fish are and then figure out how I wanna situate the boat. Because if I go on the top side of them and I anchor it, my live scope's gonna be faced away. If I had a pole mount, I could scan, or I could talon, but you just want to figure out how you're going to position yourself with these bobber fish, because essentially I want to be casting at them and be able to see them too, or at least get in the general zone. So I will be casting into the wind with the bobber, which maybe isn't ideal, but since I don't have a pole mount along on the boat, that's the easiest way. Anchor shortly. These fish are 20, 30 feet away. We'll try with the lighter one first, the jig and the leech. So the single hook, I like to use a little more leech. You could interchange these. You could do a crawler on one, leech on the other, and it doesn't really matter which end you hook on. Just I would try to get pretty close to the tip. There's some decent meat right in the middle of the leech. There you go. So now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna figure out my depth. So it helps if you're not using electronics, you could just use the length of your rod. Okay, it's 8.5 foot rod, add an extra foot, I'm 9.5 feet down sort of thing. So that's an easy way. I know my leech right now, like I said, is gonna be a little over 9 feet. Ideally, I'm gonna be a little bit above the fish when I drop down. I think they typically like to feed up a little bit with that bobber setup. So I'll try to keep it, if the fish are in 12 feet, I'll try to keep it 10 feet down sort of thing. So right now, the orange bobber stop is at the tip, and this is 1.5 feet down. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna drop it down in front of the live scope, and I'm gonna see where it drops on my screen. So right now, my bait is about 10 feet down, and there's a fish swimming at it. This is ridiculous. There's a walleye coming right for it, just dropping under the trolling motor. He's gonna eat it. He just ate it, I think. So that worked out pretty good. With a light hook like that, you want to keep your drag a little bit looser. I think this is a pretty good size walleye. But we got fairly light line, like I said, 8-pound test. So I'm gonna baby it just a little bit here. Could be a pike or a real nice walleye. And it was a pike. I guess we don't know. Dang, that was a good start. That fish just came shooting up for it. That's a good sign. We found out the depth is good. There's fish around. Okay, so I'm seeing these fish 12 feet out. Little lob casts. When you're fishing with a bobber, if you just try to snap it, you'll just rip your bait off. All right, we're down in the zone. There's a fish. You can see him kick every once in a while when the live scope shifts. There's 2 fish racing up for the leech. See if we can get the bobber going down. There are fish all around the bait, and the bobber's down. Oh, these are big walleyes. Oh, dang. This is good. My split shot slid, but they're liking the leech. I haven't tried anything else, but first spot, and it's working good. It's just operator error at this point. Look at all those fish. Wow, we've seen nothing yet. This is the mother lode. Yeah, there we go. It was just acting a little funny. All right, 3rd time's the charm. There were so many fish, you could just see them darting up and down and up and down. And they're all walleyes. They can just get kind of stingy in July. Yeah, so this long rod plus 8-pound fluoro, it's just got a lot of stretch to the whole system, so it's nice for those small hooks. Seems like a pretty good walleye. And just watching the bobber go down, like, brings you back to your childhood. It's a real nice one. All right, one for the leech. Ooh, it's a fat boy. And when you're dealing with these small little octopus hooks too, you can see how that one got pretty far back. I like having a pair of forceps. You can see how it just hooked the inside of one of those gills. Still got the leech. I don't know, 22, 23 incher. Cool, bobber down. There was so many fish, it was just a matter of time, the way they're darting back and forth. Well, that's a big win to get that leech back. And there's still fish sitting there. In a fight like that, sometimes your bobber stop will slide too. So it's also worth double checking. It can slide up or down. I'll double check here, but it seems like it's you know, right around that 10-foot mark. So like I said, the beauty of this string bobber stop is that it goes through my guides. It goes up and down. So after something like that too, I might want to just pull it a little bit tighter, but we're gonna try to cast back in that zone and see if we can get lucky. I know I say this all the time, but it's so easy to get zoned into watching the live scope. I know that there's fish cruising all over the reef. I know my bobber's in the zone of fish, so yeah, I can keep changing and, you know, tweaking to see. Just watch your bobber and it's gonna go down, right? There's fish moving around, and the beauty with the bobber is you can kind of put it in the sweet spot where the fish are and you're not spooking them. It can kind of just hover there like a drop shot. I didn't think there was that much technique to bobber fishing for walleyes until last year during the Kenora Walleye Open with John Hoyer. And he outfished me, no word of a lie, probably 10-1 on the slip float. He's probably caught thousands of walleyes by bobber. So I'm not claiming to have, you know, that level of experience, but man, it was absolutely impressive, and it opened my eyes to the technique and the finesse to it. I've caught, you know, walleyes with bobbers, but there's more to it than meets the eye than just a bobber and a hook. I'm shocked the bobber hasn't gone under. What's wrong with these fish? Oh, never mind. I just started talking smack and then the bobber went under. Little guy, but hey, that's what we're looking at. A lot of those under the front of the boat. All right, well, not as big as the ones we lost, but we can confirm there are walleyes on the top of the reef. Just had to keep putting the bait in front of them. Cool. Sorry. My reaction is just to toss him when he starts flipping. Okay, let's try a different spot. There's good fish here, but it's a big lake. We'll keep moving around, find some more aggressive ones. Where a bobber shines, you know, if you're throwing like a swim bait or a net or just jigging minnow and you're dragging on the bottom, some of these lakes will have this green sludge come mid-season and your jig touches anything and it just covers up, which can make it very tough to target these fish. Beauty of it is it just keeps it suspended. You basically never get snagged. That's the difference between that and a drop shot, right? A drop shot, you'll be getting snagged a little bit more. Find a pot of fish that are a little more active, and sometimes you do need to cast at 100 walleyes to get a couple to bite because they can just be tough sometimes. There's a big point that sticks out there with some weeds on top, so we'll see if we can catch some of those fish right on the edge of the weeds. I think I need to put a bigger bobber on, another split shot for this setup. Yeah, I'm gonna change things a bit. New quick mod here, switch things up. I wasn't happy with the fall. It's just a little slow. All right, we're going to a bigger bobber. This one hopefully will be a couple more split shots. I still want to keep the plain hook in the leech, but I just want a little more weight. Might be the key to success. It's gonna fall a lot faster. Looks like there's fish racing for it. Waiting for the bobber to go dunk. This is nuts. Oh, there we go. Just hammered it. Just gonna reel into him. And there we go. That took a while considering how many fish there were in there. Oh, don't go in the motor. Finally, one made a mistake, but you hover it there long enough and good things happen. All right, another little guy. We are seeing bigger ones floating down there, but whatever, I'm not gonna complain. The bobber finally went down. I think I do prefer the sucker end if I am putting the hook, if I am choosing. So nice to be able to just slide this and adjust where your bobber is. I'm just gonna put another, I don't know, 10 inches further down. I do like a little chop because it is giving that leech a little extra action. Depending on where you peg your weights in relation to the bait, that will give the bait more, you know, freedom to swim around. So there's some days where I like to peg it a little bit closer so the bait can't move, and there's other days where I like to give it lots of room to swim. Come on. These fish are going vertical on it. There we go. Ooh, wow, I had to reel a bit into that. You just reel until you feel weight and then you set the hook. Sometimes you'll try setting the hook right away and you'll not have the line tight enough. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm thinking it's a walleye. It's a walleye. I was right. A dandy, as they say on the fishing shows. Oh, that's bigger than the other one. Woo, gold, baby. Maybe a little Lindner hat adjustment right there. Hold up a big walleye. Cool, I don't know, probably 23-ish. Saw a fish going vertical and charging at the leech, going back down, charging at the leech, and it was just a matter of time, so. I made some small adjustments. I liked the octopus hook with the leech, so all I did is I just did a couple more split shots on this setup, and then a bit of a bigger bobber. So that wind was causing me some issues with how light I had it before. Sometimes the fish will lift up too, and then your bobber will go sideways. That's a pretty common thing as well when you're fishing with a jig and there's a little more weight, so something else to be aware of. It won't always just shoot down and go away. Oh, there's a fish on. I didn't even know it. I just reeled up. What I was talking about, sometimes, especially that time, I think my leech was a little closer to the bottom and I didn't notice, and it had obviously been chewing on it for a while. I think about days like this all year long, in shorts and flip-flops, watching bobbers go down. Doesn't get much better. So the other fish are kind of caught on the top of a reef. Here you can see there's some weeds here on live scope, and we're kind of fishing just on the edge. Walleyes like weed lines. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah! It felt pretty good at the start, now it feels like a little guy. Cool. Right like they should be hooked. Beak hook in the beak of the walleye. There's fish right in front of me, 20 feet. I'm gonna try to cast just past them because it's floating back towards me with how we're set up. Like I said, you're gonna set it up differently depending on if you're taloned or if you're spot locked or if you're, you know, using the tiller, anchored, whatever. Oh, something big just grabbed it as I pulled it up. Come on, I think it was a big walleye. That was ridiculous. It acted like a pike, but it must have been a big walleye. As far as bobber fishing goes, typically depth-wise, like, I won't really try to bobber fish deeper than 10, 15 feet. You're just dealing with so much line then and so much for it to slide through. I like it, you know, 15 feet or less. Deeper, I'm probably drop shotting or trying something a little bit different. So right now, I don't know if you can get a shot of that, Karsten. My bobber is flat on its side. So that means that I've casted a little too shallow and my bait's sitting on the bottom. My fish could still eat it off the bottom right now. That leech is swimming with how the split shot is set up, but I want to adjust it a little bit. So I'm gonna slide it up. These fish are now, there's a shallower pod here in about 6 feet of water. So we're gonna slide it quite a bit shallower here, and we're gonna try another cast at those fish. Because with the crawler, I like to have it above their heads. I like to reel up that slack, so when the bobber does go down, I don't have to panic reel. Oh, there we go. Just did a little boom. I wonder if it still has it. Yeah, look at that. Just gonna slowly reel and hook set. Another eater. Walleye rodeo. Cool. Yeah, I did that initial little bump, and then I just watched the bobber kind of, sometimes they'll eat it and they'll just sit there, right? So it's good to watch. Pay attention to your bobber. There's fish just right under the nose, so don't always feel like you have to cast it away. The same way you can catch fish jigging under the boat, you can catch fish with a bobber under the boat. Swimming through the danger zone. They're just sharking under the boat. Come on, come on. Yep. Yeah. Fighting good. Fighting like an 18-inch walleye. Oh, look at the pike behind it. Look at the pike behind it. He just got it. He just got it. Oh, look at that latch on. That's insane. Oh, he dropped it. It's your lucky day, buddy. Your lucky day. You can see a little bit of a scar on the back where that pike tried to get him. That was cool. I don't know if the 360 cam got it. Crazy. That was cool. Shocked the bobber hasn't gone down. The bobber's down. Bobber's down. Going under the boat. And almost pulled me over. Brandon saved me on that one. I was responding to some catch and cook work. Yeah, it's bigger than I thought. Another 19, 20 incher. Going back. She goes. Like I said, if you're fishing with kids, fishing in a snaggy area, fishing where the bottom is really, you know, scuzzy, the bobber's great. It keeps it in that strike zone if you can figure out where that strike zone is. And it's fun. It's fun watching that bobber go down. So in that case, I started pulling it. I saw some fish following the leech, and I actually started moving it a bit and twitching it. So sometimes that can be another little cadence to the leech that can help. Oh, this one's pulling some drag. This might be the biggest one yet with how he's acting. We'll see. It's fighting hard. Fighting hard. Maybe not the biggest one yet, but I've been happy with a lot smaller than that. That is a wrap. Yeah, fun way to catch walleyes. Great at this time of year when they're on the humps. They can be a little tougher to catch, so bobbers are good. Get yourself some bobbers, some split shots, a couple jigs, a couple hooks, some leeches, some crawlers. Hover that bait just above the walleyes and they will come up and bobber down. Wear your life jackets. See you next time.